Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says the search is close to getting started for the remains of missing First Nations women. The remains of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron are believed to be in the Prairie Green landfill north of Winnipeg. Both women, as well as Rebecca Contois and a fourth unidentified woman known as Buffalo Woman, were killed in the spring of 2022, and their families have been advocating for a search of the landfill ever since. The Premier informed the families in a private meeting earlier this week, saying the search is going ahead out of respect to them.
The families have been put through so much and are just coming out of what I can only imagine was a very difficult 6-week trial period. Throughout this period, we have been trying to put the families first.
For more on the federal government's role in this search, I'm joined by Gary Anandasangaree, the Minister of Crown-Indigenous Relations. Minister, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Thank you, David.
Talk about what the federal government's going to be doing in this. It took the provincial government giving a license change to allow things to go forward. Is it just financial support from Ottawa, or is there more to it?
Well, I think the critical point here is that we've been there from the beginning. So ever since the issue started to come out, we've engaged the family. We met with the communities impacted. The initial feasibility study as well as the second feasibility study were fully supported by the federal government. As we move forward with a new provincial government in Manitoba with Premier Wab Kinew, I was able to meet with him almost days after his election, and we both committed to continuing to work with each other on landing the search. Here we are, I think, right after the end of the trial. Both the federal and provincial government are matching $20 million each, and the search will continue, or will start. The preliminary work is ongoing,
right.
And within weeks, I think the search will start, and we're hopeful that this will give closure to the families who've been really struggling for the last couple of years.
I was in Manitoba for the in Winnipeg for the final day of the election and for the day after, and this was a remarkably divisive issue, essentially over the cost. The budget has been reduced to $40 million. It was well over $100 million, I think, potentially before. If it goes over the $40 million, if that's what it takes, is the federal government willing to increase its share?
The commitment that we've had from the outset is that we are going to be with the families from the beginning right till the end. The search that is now going to begin, the Premier has made it very clear that he's confident that the funds that are allocated will be sufficient to do the search. You know, this is a very difficult issue. This should not be about money. This is about communities that are deeply impacted, you know, daughters looking for their mothers, families looking for closure. And I always go back to, if it were my family member, how would we react? Like, is it a dollar value issue? No, it's about doing the right thing.
So does that mean if you have to spend more than $20 million, I mean, not to reduce it to dollar values, but like Cambria and Kira Harris were on the show with me back before anybody was committing to do the search, and they've been frustrated with all words and no action. This is action, but if the price does have to go up, is it okay?
I think right now, today, I think we need to start looking towards the search, making sure the families are supported during the process, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
So there's a 5-step process, or a 5-stage process that Premier Kinew has outlined on this, and building shelters, but so people can have somewhere to be when they're doing the work. But he wants this done manually, essentially. Like, that seems like that could be a long and exhaustive process of doing this by hand rather than using machines. What's your sense on the approach being outlined here?
I fully support the Premier's approach. They've put a lot of thought into it. I've been speaking to the Premier and his team for a number of months on this. We had a preliminary meeting several weeks ago with the families. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the meeting yesterday, but I'm very confident that there is a plan, there is training, there is supports, there's health and well-being that's going to be part of this search, and it is an arduous process. We always knew that the search would be difficult. More importantly, I think what the findings may be even more difficult, and we need to support the families and the communities impacted during that process, and that's key for us right now.
What's your level of optimism that this can be successful? Because Having met Cambria and Kira, you can see the pain in their face. But all the studies show that this is going to be tough because of the nature of the landfill, because of the compacting of the earth, because of what has been dumped there. It's a health risk, and it's going to be challenging to actually find these remains. How optimistic are you?
Today, I'm optimistic that we're doing the right thing. We're doing it in partnership with the province of Manitoba, which was one of the challenges we had previously. I'm optimistic that the right supports are available to the families. The outcome is not something you or I could predict, and I hope that the family gets closure, and that's what we want.
What is your message to the family members, right? To the family members of Mercedes Myron, Morgan Harris? We don't know who Buffalo Woman is or precisely where her remains are believed to be, but there was somebody who loved her and cared for her. What's your message to them? The message to them, and the first time I met Cambria Harris, I think it's the same message I'm going to give her today and to the family members, is that, we're there. We want to support you. We will continue to support you. This is so difficult, especially after the trial of the last 6 weeks. And our heart is with you, and Canadians are with you. We want to do the right thing, and here we are today starting the process for the search. I hope we get the closure that you deserve. And this issue will never ever be politicized again. It took a long time to get here, though. 2022, spring of 2022, these women went missing, and here we are, basically summer of 2024. I mean, what does it say that it took that long? It took a change in government, and it's taken a lot of protests and a lot of fight to just get to this moment. It's so frustrating, right? If you look at step by step what the families had to go through, it is deeply frustrating. It is a moment I think Canadians need to reflect on, right? What is the role of the police? What, could they have done the search? Could a lot of these issues been resolved earlier? From a federal perspective, we needed a partner in the provincial government, and we have that with Premier Canoe, and we've been constructive in terms of outlining the process as well as coming to the table together. There are multiple pieces to the search, including the required permits, including health and safety standards, including ensuring worker safety, as well as ensuring that it is family-centered. It is centered on the wishes of the family and the community, which is paramount and something that the Premier outlined yesterday. So I think we're in a much better place. Sadly, we shouldn't be in this place because the tragedy and the national crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls still continues. And I hope there's a day where we can say that no longer is a reality in Canada. Nigan St. Clair, who's a regular on this show, he's a professor at the University of Manitoba and a columnist in the Winnipeg Free Press. He said that Winnipeg is Canada's most vital laboratory for reconciliation and all of its pain and its hope. When you look at this specific issue, the search for the landfill, but broaden it out to the situation in Winnipeg that Nigan is writing about, how do you see this whole episode, this struggle, this moment fitting into the quest for reconciliation in this country? It is, I think, a collective effort. So it cannot be a single government that undertakes reconciliation. It cannot be a two-way street, meaning that we cannot go forward and go backwards at the same time. It is a one-way street. It is one where we need everyone to work together. Like, reconciliation is not an option for Canada. The cost of not reconciling is far greater than the cost of reconciliation, which in this case, unfortunately came down to cost. It didn't come down to doing the right thing from the outset. Federally, I think we've been there from the beginning. Minister Miller, and one of the first things I did as the new minister was to meet with the families, and that engagement has continued, and that commitment will continue because this is a very important thing for our government. Minister, we appreciate you coming in. That's Anandasangaree, the Minister of Crown-Indigenous Relations. Thank you, sir. Thank you.